these are myths about JSON. It's too complicated to understand. Only David Book can understand it. Or I don't need to understand it. That might be another myth. And you kind of get away without it, but I really think it's better if you don't go that route. Now your app contains this is just like you kind of talked about this already, David, but I broke it into 3 parts of what's inside an app. First of all, you have the code. You have your Java, your XML files, your H&M files. And that's one set of what's in your app. You also have the resources, your images and your documents, your PDFs. That's another set of what's in your app. But your content is all driven by the JSON. Your JSON is the part that you put into the app, right? This is what you own. So while I understand it helps understand how your app works. Sometimes you need it for problem solving. And also, this is a very important argument, I think, to why tackle JSON. If you tackle any part of understanding more about it, it's because it's easier to understand than the actual code in the app, right? It's actually quite easy. So I see people react to JSON saying, oh no, it's so hard, but it's actually very, very easy compared to other things. Just JavaScript object notation. And then what I was going to do, this is just a picture of your JSON. You already saw that today. What I was going to do is maybe go through the detail of what's in the JSON, but I think in the interest of time and just based on who's here, because probably most people here probably aren't very comfortable with it. If you want to talk about it in more detail, maybe go in the other room and do like a smaller group. But I think one thing you're going to see, just a couple of patterns I'll point out though that you'll see in there, is first of all, you always see, what it is, and then your name for it, right? So it's always like the name of the app, and then what is the name that you would put. So you always see that pattern. So if you watch for that pattern, it's less overwhelming. This is the field that you populated on the control panel, and this is your name that you put in there, right? That's kind of an easy part of it. Another thing, all these brackets and commas look very confusing, but I think you don't have to try to. I guess the only trick with the brackets is that they have to always they always have to nest, right? So this type of bracket is used for array, right? And this type of bracket is used around the other stuff, not the array stuff, right? But anyway, the point is that they always bracket around each other.
I'll give you the technical answer. The curly braces, otherwise known as, when you earn your programming stripes, let's start calling those chicken lips. Chicken lips surround a JSON object.
Okay, JSON object, okay.
The curly braces surround a JSON object, which is nothing more than, like you said, key value pairs with commas between them. So the curly braces surround each object, and then the square brackets surround multiple objects of the same type.
Oh,
so if you have a list of people, they'll be within square brackets.
Yeah, your child files are within the square.
So the easier in English version is, if you have a list of things, they go in brackets.
Yeah.
If you don't have a list of things, you just have one thing, it's not a bracket.
It's a curly bracket. Yeah, curly.
That's the English for it.
And there's always a comma between items.
Right.
But not in the last item. And that's really all there is to it. It's just very, very extremely logical. If you can figure out Xcode, how to install Xcode on your computer and compile an app, JSON is just so much easier than that. I guess that's my message, is that it's just really not hard. If we had time, and I think this group is just a little too experienced for this, we could actually go through each thing in there, and you would actually see how your JSON was made. But you think of the power, I think you can use the JSON snippet keeper. You can start thinking about using data URLs to make your apps more automated. You can save yourself a lot of time. And it's so much easier. I think anyone could sit down and just study your JSON file take a smaller app. It looks so big because it's so long if you have a complicated app. But just like David did, make an app with 3 screens in it. Just study that for a half hour, and your life will be better for it. I mean, it really will make everything go better. So I think with that, I'll just.
I agree 100%. Can you go back a few slides, and I'm going to answer Javal's question from earlier. Show me where we had the code.
This one?
Keep going back. Right there. Okay. And this is kind of an industry thing and not a David thing or whatever, and this is not a correction to be critical or whatever. But there is a difference. You asked earlier what the difference between Objective-C and JSON, I believe, was the question. What's the difference between Objective-C and JSON? And so it would have been the exact same question had you said, what's the difference between Objective-C and XML? Because XML and JSON share something in common. They're not programming languages. Neither is HTML. And here's what I mean by that. To a developer or a programmer, there are markup languages and there are programming languages. Those are the only two. Markup languages are used to describe things. HTML describes a document. XML describes document structure and data. JSON describes data. They describe things. They don't do anything. On their own, they do nothing. You just look at them. They describe information. Programming languages, on the other hand, do all kinds of magical things because they can do logic. If, then, else, 2 + 2 equals. Logical programming is done with programming languages, and describing and structuring is done with markup languages. So XML, JSON, and HTML are 3 examples of markup.
Yeah, XML is really like a JSON.
Exactly. In programming, Java, Objective-C, JavaScript, PHP. There's a long list
your
of
nib files too.
Python. Those are,
yeah.
if you can add 2 + 2 and it'll magically tell you the equals, it's programming. But you can't do that in JSON or XML. It doesn't have the smarts. The computer doesn't analyze it like it does programming languages. So that's kind of the technical answer to what's the difference. So we use Objective-C to tell our app how to work. Logically,
Yeah,
we
maybe
use our
it's
JSON
better
to
to call this
give
one
the
BuzzTouch
instructions.
Core. Call this BuzzTouch Core.
Perfect.
BuzzTouch
Yeah.
Core, you know, and then, because I think that the key thing that this is stuff that you own, and this is stuff that BuzzTouch will generally do for you. But this is yours. This belongs to you. You made it in the control panel. You can make it other ways besides the control panel.
Sure.
And that's the power of the JSON.
Yeah. No, you did good at summarizing all that stuff. You're just always going to hear me hitting home in that it's just fundamental to what you're doing, in that you understand the purpose of how JSON, why it's there.
Yeah.
And the takeaway is it just describes pieces of information so that your app can read or whatever. So awesome job. Thank you.